just won the mayoralty here. Give us your reaction.
This is a historic victory. This is the first time the Green Party have ever won a directly elected mayor. And two-party politics is not just dying, it is dead and it is buried. And actually, whether it's here that Labour have been rejected or whether we're seeing around the country, it's very clear that the new politics is the Green Party versus Reform. I said that the Green Party were going to replace Labour. That's exactly what we did in Gorton and Denton. It's what we've done in Hackney, and we're seeing that right across the country. In fact, in almost all of our seats, right across the country, whether they're target or non-target, the Green Party vote share is rising.
It's a good result for you here. Labour haven't done quite as disastrously so far as many were expecting. Does that mean that you're not quite as popular as you thought?
I think the Labour Party have done a good job of expectation management, and actually the fact they've had a terrible result rather than an existentially bad result, I don't think is particularly good for them. But I'm not interested in just criticising the government. What Zoe has done in Hackney, and we're seeing right across the country, is the Green Party are offering a tangible plan for change. Alongside hope, that's such a powerful combination. And what I see all across the country are people saying they're feeling hopeful for politics for the first time. Some people, yes, were disillusioned with Labour and are now voting for the Green Party. But lots of people are voting for the Green Party for the very first time who didn't vote before. And that's really exciting.
In many places, your biggest contribution might be splitting the progressive vote, paving the way for reform. Are you comfortable with that?
I would reject the idea that the Labour Party are a progressive vote. The Labour Party, since they got into office, have continued austerity. They tried to cut disability benefits. We had more children going into poverty for far too long. They brought Peter Mandelson into the heart of government, and we've seen an ongoing genocide in Gaza. So the idea that this Labour government offers any kind of progressive politics, I think, is for the birds. And actually, anyone who's on the left in politics, progressive, or even just wants a politics of common sense, where we're redistributing power and wealth away from multimillionaires and billionaires and putting it back into our communities, that's a vote for the Green Party. And what I'd say to anyone is we need your help, and today is a brilliant day to join the Green Party.
OK, strip away the label progressive. You might be splitting the left vote and paving the way for reform. Are you comfortable with that?
I still reject the idea that the Labour Party are in any way a left-wing party. Keir Starmer was a man who echoed the words of Enoch Powell. We've seen in Shabana Mahmood increasingly anti-migrant rhetoric, and as I've said, we've had the ongoing genocide. I think a left-wing government, or anyone who wants to change anything in this country, would look at how much communities are suffering right now, and they would work to end rip-off Britain. We have this toxic combination of low wages and high bills, and it feels like the Labour government haven't done anything to get a grip of that. The first thing they should be doing, for instance, is freezing energy bills. It's outrageous that we've got this illegal and unpopular war, and there are people working 2 or 3 jobs who are going to be having to pay even more for their energy bills that they just can't afford right now. We need to make sure we have elected Greens in office who actually look out for people who are working so hard and aren't being rewarded for how hard they're working.
Do you think this was a positive vote for you, or protest votes across the country, with people sick and tired of Labour?
I think people are undoubtedly sick and tired of Labour, but actually people who are sick and tired of parties often just don't vote, and what we're seeing is a rise in the Green vote. And I think people are both sick of Labour, but also actually really excited by a Green alternative that's ultimately about protecting our communities and protecting our planet. And when I meet people all the time on doors, on the tube, on trains, people say over and over again that they're really, really excited. And I think that's a really tangible feeling, that when you combine hope and a plan, that's when you win elections like Hackney.
A lot of what you've been talking about, both in this interview and over the last couple of weeks, have been national issues, not so much local issues. Lots of what you'll be talking about, you're not going to be able to deliver just by being in control of a couple of councils.
Well, I think Zoe in Hackney already has a huge plan at the local level. Yes, it's attached to the national picture that we've got right now, but she's already talked about launching a commission about who owns Hackney, so we're immediately getting into conversations about inequality. She's also looking at food poverty across Hackney, a real huge issue with that inequality. So there is lots that councils can do. And also, it is true that I know Zoe Garbett as Mayor of Hackney, and in fact, so many people who run councils or indeed Green councillors will be holding the government to account from a local level to say it's outrageous that decades of austerity have stripped councils of funding. In the 5th wealthiest economy in the world, where 50 families own more wealth than 34 million people, that's a political choice. So the national government need to make different political choices, and local councils can hold their feet to the fire on that.
Lots of the national issues you've been talking about have been social issues, not environmental issues. So are you really still the Green Party, or are you a reincarnated Corbyn's Labour Party just by another name?
Well, you can't separate the environment from inequality, because actually corporations are destroying our environment, but they're also destroying our democracy and destroying our communities. So actually tackling the cost of living often creates the same solutions to tackling the climate crisis. A quick example. If we insulate every single home in Britain that needs it, we have some of the leakiest homes in Europe where they're not energy insulated, so people have high bills. That's terrible for people's bills, but it's also terrible for the climate crisis. Insulating every home is a triple win, reduces bills, reduces climate emissions, and creates hundreds of thousands of good green jobs that could be in the public sector where people are treated with dignity and care. That's the way to tackle the climate crisis, and that's the way to make hope normal again.
That's a really good answer, but we haven't heard an awful lot of that during the last few weeks. So going forward over the next 2.5 years, will you be going back to arguments like that, or will you be focusing more on your social issues?
I think if people go back and look at interviews I've done, I talk about the environment all the time actually, it's just very often embedded into the answers. When you look at polling about the Green Party or more generally and you ask people who do you trust most with the environment, we always come out on top. It's never going to change. Everyone knows that the Green Party want to tackle the climate crisis and we want to protect nature in one of the most nature-depleted countries in the world. What I want people to be hearing more and more is our policies on workers' rights, our policies of fairer taxation to tax for wealth and multimillionaires and billionaires, and our policies to make sure that everyone in this country has nutritious food that they can access and that a home they can afford that is accessible, and that also we make sure that we're building council homes.
Two last quick ones for you. Firstly, what's your message to Keir Starmer right now?
My message to Keir Starmer is that he needs to go, but I don't think that's my message. I think that's the country's message. We've seen for a long time now his popularity has been going and he's lost the trust of the country. And to see a Labour minister today saying that they don't just respond to the mood of the country, they stick to the plan, I feel very misjudged. But it doesn't feel like a coincidence. That feels like the entitlement and the privilege that this Labour government have acted with every single day that they've been in office. And I think it's really important that we have a new Prime Minister of the country. Ultimately, that's a different conversation that I'm in charge of. That's going to be a conversation that the Labour Party are in charge of. But speaking as a citizen of this country, it's very clear that Keir Starmer doesn't have what it takes to lead us out of the multiple crises that we have right now.
Just lastly, Greens do quite well in Hackney. You decided whether or not you're going to run as an MP here?
I'm going to be running to be an MP somewhere in London. I've not decided where that seat's going to be yet because we don't know what's going to happen in the next week, never mind in the next 2 years.
Come on, you've got a pretty good indicator that, that voters around here like the Green Party. You must be thinking this must be a place that I could do well.
Well, I've got a pretty good indicator that people like the Green Party in Hackney, but I think that's the same in Walthamstow, in Holborn and St Pancras, in Camden, in Islington, in Lambeth, in Lewisham. Whether it's me or whether it's a whole host of other people, you're going to see a whole host of Green MPs in the next election.
There's a lot of Labour big dogs that are in those seats.
Well, those Labour big dogs, I think, have failed this country, and I think it's time to replace them.
Thank you very much.
Cool. Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you. I've got